Hello. Today I want to play a little bit with what did I call it? The topic wheel. I don't actually know what this is. It's just something that I'm making up. Basically, I want a wheel that I can spin inside of OBS. So OBS is what I use to stream, and it has a whole bunch of fancy widgets. We've done them in the past. I don't know a good way to show that. But I have videos in the past where we've embedded Unity applications as HTML, HTML5 apps that you can then render into OBS. And so I want to play a little bit more with that. And I'm hoping what we can do is get some sort of wheel that we can spin, and either you as a viewer can submit a topic, or I can just collect a bunch of thoughts that I have, and we can just spin the wheel and pick one. Or maybe there's like some modification, like we're going to build in, I don't know, a platforming game. And maybe there's like 5 different modifications or something that we want to choose from. Let's just spin a wheel and pick one, because then it saves me from having to do this. And I feel like a wheel is more interesting than doing a dice. So that's where we're at. It's a very well thought out thing. And definitely is not just an excuse to explore UI elements and build something useless. So that's pretty much the entirety of this thought. So we're gonna figure this out. I have never played with UI elements before. I don't know what this is. I don't know how to use it. I don't know anything about it. That's why we're here. So yeah, I don't know really anything. My understanding is this is some new UI thing from Unity. And it's going to make, hopefully, building UIs a little bit easier. My understanding is there's some UXML, which looked like XAML to me, but wasn't. XAML is like a Windowsy, .NET-y UI language that is mostly XML based. This looked similar, but I don't know if it is similar. So we're going to figure it all out. And however long it takes is how long it takes. One of the interesting things, I guess, with this is we are not necessarily going to be building this, but like effectively what we're trying to build here is a repeatable list that can be mapped onto a circle. There's a few problems with that. One, if we have a circle, if we start subdividing it a bunch, if we have hundreds of options, that doesn't look very good, because now we just have this multicolored circle that just looks like a blob, and you can't read anything on it. You can't really tell anything. And so, well, effectively, it's going to look like a wheel. I don't think we actually want it to be a wheel. So what I'm trying to get to is there's going to be some fixed width of an option on this wheel, and we're going to be able to spin that wheel, and it's going to look like things are passing, but there's actually going to be a whole virtualized thing underneath. So effectively, we're just going to show you the top part of the wheel, and everything underneath it is not going to be there. We're going to be creating new elements to show as they come onto the screen and removing them. And so hopefully what this will allow us to do is provide like an infinite list of options to choose from. And then when we spin this, we'll be able to get one of those options without having to worry about, is that going to look good? Because it should always look the same. The only thing that's going to be different is the number of options. That's the goal. How well I'm able to actually pull that together, I do not know. So that's why we're here. Let's see. So there's a bunch of things that are here. I honestly don't know how much of this we're going to need. I don't even know if it actually is a good choice to use UI elements. It seems like this would be great for like a main menu or a overlay or like a HUD or something like that. But I don't know if it's a good option for what I want to do, because just because of, I guess, like the dynamic nature of this, there's going to be a lot of like custom scripted elements here. And I don't know if that's an appropriate use of this tech. So yeah, I think that's the intro out of the way. So that's it. So I guess we'll just start poking at things. I need a project first. That is Visual Studio. Let's create, I think you need 2019.1 But we can skip that and do 2019.3. I think this is one of the more newer versions. We're going to be doing a 2D game. And yeah, we'll just poke at it. Let's see here. What do we want to call this? Our topic wheel? This doesn't really matter. Like, this is entirely just me naming random things. So it can be whatever. I'm going to close Visual Studio because we don't need that. And yeah, we'll let this go. All right. I guess we can start taking a look at this. I don't know the difference between UI elements and like the canvas-based UI system that Unity released like 4 or 5 years ago now. It's really been okay. It's been a while. Anyway, let's just start at the top and look at the visual tree. So typically UIs are kind of like this big tree system. If you've ever written like HTML, it's the same thing. Can we actually just, is this a thing? Can we, this kind of shows it, but there's like a 3D view. Toggle device, no. I don't actually know how to do that. But typically there's some way to do 3D styling here. It's not super useful. I guess I can't really say. I don't find it particularly useful. But effectively, your entire browser is a tree. And so there's a bunch of elements, and each of those elements has other things underneath it. And so this is similar to pretty much everything else you're going to be using in any environment. There's not like, if you're building a new Unity thing, when you're creating game objects, that's all a tree as well. It's basically just, there's something, and then there's a set of things underneath that. And that is pretty much the basis of a tree. You can make it more complicated, but I don't need to go into that. I'm just rambling. So visual element is the common base class for all nodes in the visual tree. So a node would be, if we're talking about this tree thing, there's going to be some sort of root node, and then there's going to be some number of children underneath that root node, and those children may or may not have more children, and it may just keep going. And so when they're just saying the common base class, it means that each of those nodes inside of that visual tree should be a visual element. That is my interpretation of that. But again, I've never used this, so all of this is my assumption. This is not, don't take this as like the canonical, this is how this works, because I don't know. So we'll make it up as we go. Let's see, visual element has several subclasses that define additional behavior. It may have child elements. Connectivity, the root object of the visual tree is referred to as a panel. A new element is ignored until it is connected to the panel. You can add elements to an existing element to attach your user interface to the panel. So that root node, I guess, is the panel. And then everything else is a child of the panel. And if it's not part of that tree, it's not going to get drawn. So what that's telling us is just because we create a visual element does not mean that it's going to be part of our UI or that it's going to be drawn necessarily. You need to actually connect it to the tree. Drawing order. The elements in the visual tree are drawn in the following order. Parents are drawn before their children. Children are drawn according to their sibling list. I'm not sure what a sibling list is. We haven't gotten there yet. But what that's meaning is if we have a window, we can render things on top of that window by making it a child. And so effectively, things that are lower in depth of our tree should be drawn afterwards on top of that. That might be a simplification because it's that second bit, the sibling list, could impact that. So if we have like a root node and then 2 children, and then those have 2 children each, what could end up happening is if those first 2 children overlap, you could get a case where, because it's second in the sibling list, it could end up drawing over the previous ones, even though it has a shorter depth, like it has a depth of 1. because it's later in the sibling list, I would assume you would draw over top of it. Okay. Different coordinate systems are defined as follows. It looks like there's world and local space. World coordinates are relative to the panel space. Okay. The panel is the highest element in the visual tree. Okay. Local coordinates are relative to the element itself. I don't know what that means. At least not right now. We'll figure it out, but I don't really have a good grasp of that. I'm assuming world coordinates would be, since it's talking about panel space, I'm assuming world coordinates in this case is relative to the root node of your UI. And then local space would be local to whatever element it is that you're drawing. I think that's what that's trying to say. It's a little bit unclear, I guess, but I think that's just my expectations of world space being different than what they're defining it as here. What else? Visual element has a layout transform property. So this is just telling us a bunch about how to move it. And there's some stuff about panels. Cool. That's fine. Built-in controls, the layout engine. Is there like a how to use this thing? Because I don't actually know how to use this in the first place. And I feel like that's probably where we want to start. And then after we know how to use it, we can start actually like doing stuff. The documentation is great, but like an example would be really handy right now. Just so we can kind of like get our hands dirty and actually start like touching things. UI, let's see, Unity UI elements example. All right, we'll go to their GitHub. Let's see, main menu, quick intro. Okay, so this is like some example that they have. So if I open Unity, how do I get this? I'm assuming I go to the package manager and then there's Unity UI, but that isn't the same thing. Just because, let's see, UI elements is not a thing. Great. What does that mean? Let's see. High-level API Unity multiplayer. That could be fun. VR and unit stuff. I don't see anything that we want. Maybe I'm looking in the wrong place, but I see like the input system and then that Unity UI stuff, but I don't see anything that we would use to actually render our UI. So let's go here and try to figure that out. What's in packages? So this should tell us if they're pulling something in here. Modules UI. IMGUI. What is that? That's mentioned here. So I think this is the immediate GUI. If I'm aware, I guess. I don't really know. But that's from the onGUI method. Everything you can normally do inside onGUI is supported. So you could draw this kind of stuff from an onGUI call, I guess. But yeah, immediate mode GUI. Okay. But I don't actually know how to do any of this stuff. So can we do any of this stuff? I don't actually know. Let's see here. So if I go here and do like game object UI, We can create a panel. It had mentioned that panels were what we needed. I'm assuming like, so this is part of like my knowledge gap is I don't know if Unity UI elements is different than Unity UI. I would assume they're joined together and one is a like part of another. So if I create a canvas here and then go and create a panel, I guess, well, what's the best way to figure this out? Let's create a script. We'll call it test.cs. That might, yeah, that's not right. That's gonna add .cs.cs and we don't want that. So let's just do test and open this. And then hopefully we can just kind of investigate this and see what it tells us. So if I do Unity engine.ui dot like label, I think that's a thing. And then it thinks for a while, I guess, because why not? Okay. Has it figured everything out? Does it know what I want? Nope. Has no idea what I'm doing. Okay. Why doesn't that work? So what I'm trying to do is just use the fully qualified name, but it doesn't even know any. It's like IntelliSense is not being helpful at all. So that's great. We're gonna just. Oh, did I hit the wrong? There we go. We like full screened our editor. It's going great. We've gone 20 minutes almost, and have nothing to show for it. Perfect. Did this fix it? Unity engine.ui. Nope. Okay. Fantastic. Perfect. Just what I need. I don't actually know how to fix this. I'm pretty sure the problem is some kind of issue with the generated project. I don't know how to fix that anymore. I used to know how to fix that because it used to be a much bigger problem. But I don't know how to do that anymore. So, okay, let's just try. I don't really want to do this. So I'm trying to re-import everything. I don't think that's gonna fix anything, but it might. I really don't know. But it's worth a shot, I guess. And we'll see what happens. But this is annoying and weird. So great. I really wish this was clearer. So what I've been trying to figure out is are these part of the UI elements thing, or is that entirely separate? What? Okay. I didn't want to be there. I am lost. Let's see here. Unity UI. Great. How do I get... We'll just do it this way. Unity UI label. I guess. Nope, that's the wrong thing. UI elements label. Great. Just what we need. Is this how we do this? Is this a visual element? Can I actually use this for what I want? Text element, visual element. Perfect. Okay, so the answer is yes. So all of that work was just to figure out that this is doing the exact same thing. And so I can delete this. Go into the canvas, and I should be able to create a new panel. Let's do a panel. Why not? And then let's create another one. So UI image. I guess we can do an image. So that's at 0, 0. Great. We want to move this into some space. So what I don't know is, I was kind of hoping to define this in UXML, but I don't know even what what this is. Okay, this might be something for a different time. It doesn't look like there's much, and I didn't see like it's importing some visual tree asset. I don't know how to create one of those, and I don't think UI elements UXML template. Do we do this? What happens if I click that? Nothing. It throws an error. Index was out of bounds. Great. So I think Unity's broken, and I don't think we're going to be able to do that. This doesn't seem like it does a thing. Yeah, we just get more errors. So, editor window? What? Assets to create, C#, UXML, USS. Foo? Is this a path? What even is this? I have no idea what this is. What? Is this a relative path? So if I do assets foo.cs? No? What? Must be located inside an editor folder. Okay. Great. We're going to ignore that. I have no idea what that is. That doesn't seem like it's done. So let's see. What's the USS thing? At this point, we're just exploring. USS. What even is this? What's in here? Yeah, it's blank. Great. Okay. We'll explore that later, I guess, as well. So we've learned that there's a lot of things that I don't want to touch. Okay, great. Wasn't there a way? I feel like I'm missing something here. So I remember there being a way to render parts of an image. So if you wanted like a circular mask, for example, you could do that. I don't see an option for that. It accepts a sprite and a material. Raycast target maskable. I do not know. Okay. Let's see, there's a mask here. scrollable rectangle. Effects. None of that. Okay, this is going great. Mask. What does this do? Okay. I feel like there's a lot of stuff missing, like that I used to use a lot. So what I used to do is, let's say okay, weird. The image type is here now. Great. Let's do sliced filled. Yeah. So we have this radial 360 fill, and so I can cut things like this. And so what we can do with this is, if we want like two options, we can do 0.5, copy this and flip it, and then we can make like part of it red and part of it white or whatever. And then we can just rotate our panel like, not that, like this. And now we have like a spinning thing. So like these are our options, I guess. And so that's sort of what we want to do. But I feel like we want something a little bit more than that. It's a good start. Let's see. Let's get rid of the image. We don't need that. Let's take our camera and swap out the solid color to like that for now, or like some pink color. just something so that we'll have something to key on later. So I can actually key this into OBS and actually filter out everything else. We also want these to be something other than like 0.5, like 0.3 or 0.2 or something. We need to pick something. I don't know what a good choice is necessarily, but we should just know one of these has to be our choice. But I think we want that to all to be done programmatically. Do we want this to be done automatically or not? Maybe. I think no. I think what we want is we want our like scripts. Let's add an S just so I don't end up screwing up later. And we'll do like prefabs. I always have a different name for this, but we'll shrink this down after I reset the rotation. And we'll do like 0.2 to get started. And so that's like our initial pie slice or whatever we're going to call it. We'll just call this the option. Sure. And then, how do we want to do this? So I can change where this is cut from. It shouldn't really matter. It's just going to change our math. So I'm kind of curious what the easiest one is. Maybe left. And then we can, we'll figure it out. I can handle that later. We also want our option to have some sort of text associated with it. So let's do text. And we want this to be centered. There isn't really a good way for me to center this. So we're gonna fake it and do something else. I'm just making that bigger. All right, text. Let's see. Where even is this? Why can't I? Oh, this is screen space stuff. So it's going to be way over here. Okay, great. Perfect. Not really what I want, but it's fine. For this, we want it to be equal to that. I think that should just be, is my math wrong? My math might be wrong. Is that right? I don't actually know. So if we get our math right, and it isn't, but we should just be able to extrude it out along that up axis, and it should just work. Nope. We're going to need to do some math, I think. I don't really want to do that, though. So we might just guess. Or probably the better solution is we could actually have a script to do this. Because that kind of works, but it's not actually centered, I don't think. It's just like close enough that I can kind of eyeball it and be like, oh yeah, that's close. So let's see here. Let's make that a little taller, just so we have like 2 lines of text that can actually realistically fit in there. I'm trying to keep it inside of the boundaries so it doesn't end up going outside. That would prevent text from overlapping with other text, and should just keep everything nice. I'm going to remove this error because it's annoying me. And then what do we want to do? Let's take this and actually do something interesting with it. So we have this. Let's apply this. We now have our text saved there. Let's do generate wheel. This is not going to be something that we're going to continue to use. It's strictly like a test, I guess. We're going to do public void, not void, game object template, and public float rotation amount, which is equal to 360.0f divided by, or multiplied by actually, 0.2f. So we're using 0.2 as the size, I guess, of this option. So we have the fill amount of 0.2. So we multiply 360 degrees by 0.2, and that gives us the total size of this. What does that work out to? Not a nice number, actually, now that I think about it. That's probably why this doesn't actually fit the way that I want it to. That's actually, yeah, that doesn't really work out at all, does it? What is it? We can just go here, throw this on there. 72 degrees, perfect. That explains a lot. So we have the 72 degree chunk, and we are going to apply that multiple times. So we're going to go in here to our start, and we want for int I float. Let's do float. I equals 0, while I is less than 360. We want to increment I. And so we are going to do template, I guess, instantiate our template at some point. I guess this transform dot position with some rotation, and we're just going to do quaternion dot Euler. Oh, this should work fine for what we're doing. And we'll do rotation amount. So we want to rotate actually around the z-axis. So 0, 0, and then rotation amount times I. How do we want to increment this loop? Should we just do rotation amount here? And then instead of doing I plus equals that, we'll just do plus equals our rotation amount. And that will be the total rotation per step. We'll rotate that much. And so this should generate that object. And so we're just going to create a whole bunch of these, I guess. Let's see. This is going to be our selection option. And so I think with this, when we're actually assigning topics that we can choose from, we should just be able to have like a circular list and be able to take whatever the next element is and just assign it. So even if we just have one thing, we'll still generate a new option for it, and we'll just create that object, and then we can just pretend like regardless of the size of the list, it's always the same. And that should simplify everything and kind of give us a consistent UI, even when there's a whole bunch of like options or no options. So we get here. For this, I'm just going to disable it for now. It should still be fine because we're going to be generating more. And so if we go here, we have our option. I don't think these will be assigned to our canvas, so we're not going to see them. So let's do that. What's the best way to do that? Probably public transform parent. So we're just going to store a parent here. And what we're going to do is take our selection option dot parent dot transform dot parent equals the parent. For whatever reason, we don't have IntelliSense working in Visual Studio because reasons. I don't know how to fix that, so we're just going to ignore it. But it should work. Transform could not be found. Okay, it may not work. Oh, that's why. Transform needs to be capitalized. Cool. All right, so that fixes that. And so we should get options, but they didn't get assigned to our panel because I didn't assign a parent. Let's go to our panel, let's assign that as the parent, and let's try that again. Okay, this is weird in a few ways. One, why are they still small? And two, I guess the text is in the right place, considering this is smaller than I expected it to be. So if we increase this to like 500, that looks more correct. And they all have the same rotation of 72. We did get 5 of them though, which is what we expect because we're incrementing by 0.2 of a circle. So 20% of a circle each time. So we should get 5. We did. This is wrong though, for whatever reason. Oh, that's why. I is our current rotation, not the rotation amount. The rotation amount is our step size. So we rotated everything by a fixed value instead of the variable value. That will fix that. All right. Cool. So we get a circle now, but it's actually 5 different things. So I can increment this to make it a little bit bigger. And there we go. I'm not entirely sure why our option is so small. We can just modify the prefab by doing that, I think. And now hopefully we get a bigger circle. There we go. Lighting looks weird, but that's fine. We're not going to be using this shape. We're going to be using something that's not going to be like super pixelated, but we can do that much later. We don't need to worry about that right now. So that, I guess, gives us our rotating thing, but it's actually more than we need. So if I recreate this, there is a line that we can use. And so anything below like here doesn't need to be drawn because we're going to be rotating this entire thing. And so anything that is underneath this part that is like rotated off of the screen, so it's come onto the screen and then rotated off, we don't need anymore. And so we can actually just remove it entirely. I'm not entirely sure what the best way to do that is, but that is, I guess, our next step. Part of the problem is like you can see this option is actually already at like its, I guess, final bit where it would be rotating off. And so maybe we actually want that. So this would be like the initial start off of the screen, and then we can actually have it, if it does a full rotation or like 270 degrees, it would be off the screen. And so we can actually use that as a way to clear it instead of trying to do some fancy math to make that work. That might make more sense. We just need to update our text. So since we just flipped it, we should just be able to do something like this, and then this is negative 55. No, it's not. 180 minus 55 is 125. Negative 125. There we go. So that gets our option looking better. If we override this and apply everything, and then disable that and rerun this, we should get the same result. The text might be in slightly different spots, but that's fine. But the difference is this should be our first element should be this one. So if I remove that, that is the first element that got created. And so all of them should exist except this final one. So if I delete this final one, this is sort of the end result that we're hoping to get to, because that option shouldn't be drawn. There's no option there that it would see, because effectively we're just drawing a line across. And so everything below that halfway point, we don't need to show at all. And that's going to allow us to kind of do this visual trickery thing. So we have this. What's the best way to actually accomplish that, though? So I guess we're going to want some way to rotate this, right? Is there a good way to rotate this? I guess, so everything's origin is like at the center. So really all we're doing is actually individually rotating each of these options. So we could private list game, should we do game object or the transform? Let's do the transform for now. So this will be our options. And so what we want to do is do options equals a new list of transforms. And then at the end of all of this, we can actually just assign, do options.add our selection option dot transform. And so now we just have this stored list of transforms. And we're just going to keep dumping things into this generate wheel function for now. And so we're going to have a speed here, which is going to be the rotation speed. And then for each transform in our selection option, in our options, sorry, we want to modify that transform. So we want to do something like transform that rotation times equals quaternion dot Euler 0, 0 speed times time dot delta time. So multiplication in quaternions actually is like in addition onto that quaternion. So we're actually adding this rotation to it. And so this is actually going to enable us to rotate things. I'm going to pull this out. And so we can just store this in our rotation amount like that. Set a semicolon and put this here. The reason we're doing this is just because it's going to be the same every time. And we actually want everything to rotate the exact same amount. And so we only need to do this. We only need to create this quaternion once, and we can just reuse it each time. And so this, if we've done this correctly, should cause all of these to rotate. And so everything should still be running. And so if I go here and increase the speed to like 5 or 100, nothing happens. We may have skipped our start method, maybe. Maybe that's what happened. Yeah. Okay. So this is now everything rotating. And so there's two, I guess, events that we need to happen. One is when something gets off the screen. That will be the first. And then the next thing that we need is when something is actually, or when something should spawn. And so that's going to be, when is that going to be? I guess when the next option comes completely onto the screen or close to it, we can leave a little bit of buffer just so it actually looks fine. But that should allow us to actually get this onto the screen. And so let's track lowest rotation value equals float.max value. This will, by setting it to the max value, we're effectively forcing it to take whatever the first value is and then just iterate from there. We could just force it and do like options first and something like that. This is just how I tend to do it. But actually that's probably options.first. That requires link in order to do that. So we can actually index into our list. And then we want to pull out rotation, Euler angles, .z. That's gross, but it should work. And then the lowest rotation value equals mathf.min of the lowest rotation value, and then option, or the transform actually. Transform.rotation.Euler angles.z. And so that should tell us the lowest rotation value. And we'll use that as like a key to decide if we should create a new thing or not. If that is below some threshold, or above some threshold rather, we'll want to create some new value. And we can just do that by finding the lowest and then subtracting our rotation amount. And that should be the new rotation amount of our thing. And we'll just allow that to spin. There are some issues with this. I believe that Euler angles thing is going to return between 0 and 360 degrees. And so if something is negative, it's actually going to be positive, and that could be a problem for us. But we can get to that when we get to that. For now, there is a easier, I guess, thing to do, which is to mark things for deletion. So the way to do that is to do like option, or I guess if transform.rotation.Euler angles.z is greater than, we're just going to hard code this for now, 270 should be fine. I think that should work. If it's greater than that, then we'll just destroy transform. That isn't going to really work, though. There's a problem with this. We'd have to remove it from this options list as well. And we can't really do that right now. You can't modify a list you're currently iterating through, and that's what we would have to do. So I'm going to create a temporary list and do var deleted options equals new list of transforms. And so instead of doing this destroy function here, what we're going to do is add to the deleted options the transform that should be deleted. And then after we've completely iterated through this, we are going to do another for each var deleted object in deleted options. And we'll just do destroy the deleted object. And we also need to remove it. So options.remove deleted object. There we go. And so that should destroy it in Unity, but also it should remove it from the current list of options. And so it won't be tracked here anymore. And so our list should slowly get smaller and smaller. That hopefully handles that. We'll figure it out. Method name expected. Oh, we can't do that. .add. There we go. And so hopefully we can just iterate through this. It shouldn't be rotating right now. It's already not working though. This one should have been deleted. Can't remove rect transform because image requires it. Depends on it. Destroy dot game object. That might make more sense. I think that was our problem. There we go. Cool. So it destroyed the one that is not visible. And then if we go into our panel, not the panel here, we should be able to increase the speed to say 10. And then as this next thing comes off, it should be deleted as well. There we go. And so as things move out of range, they should be destroyed and removed from our list. And then eventually there's not going to be anything left. I'm hoping. Cool. Index out of range. Oh, the index is out of range because of that. We're of this. That doesn't work anymore. So we can actually add a catch here. So if options.length size count. It's count in C#. If the count is less than or equal to 0, it shouldn't ever be below 0. Let's just say equal to 0. Then we can just return. We can just short circuit the entire function and just say you're done. Maybe, yeah, that seems fine. So this is fine. It handles the deletes just fine. The only thing we need to do now is actually handle instantiation of a new function. And so how we're going to do that is with the lowest rotation value. So we'll do it after the deletes. So if lowest rotation value is greater than, what is it? The rotation amount, then we want to instantiate something. And so what we're going to do is go up here and just copy this. There is duplication throughout this. That's intentional. We can remove it later. But for now, it just makes sense to kind of keep it. So what we're going to do is do lowest rotation amount minus the rotation amount. And so that should put it right at the end of our list. Everything else should be fine. There's our selection option. It's assigned to the parent. And then our options adds it. Cool. I think that should be fine. We will see. It doesn't like any of this. What did I do? Lowest rotation value should be a float, right? So why doesn't it like that? Why is it treating it like a quaternion? Is that better? That doesn't seem like it should work. Because the rotation amount is there. Oh. We have two rotation amounts. Ignore the face palm there, but I'm doing this very wrong. We have two rotation amounts because I'm bad. And so it was seeing this one and not the other one. So we should fix that, and then we should be good. And then subtract. We have the same thing again. We're going to just do this dot rotation amount. I should really rename this, but I haven't. But let's give this a shot and see what happens. So we have 4 options. That's good. Worst case, we could have gotten into a loop where every frame we added a new option for whatever reason. That isn't happening, so that's good. Let's increase the speed to say 50. Okay. There is a gap, but everything else looks good. We might want some like padding on the right side there, but this effectively gives us an infinite list of options because we aren't showing the bottom, and so we can cheat. And so hopefully that gives us an infinite spinner. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. It could be much better. But for like an initial prototype in an hour, that's not too bad. Let's do a few things though. One, I forget. Let's do a public float spawn padding equals 10 degrees. Sure. So this will be a measure in degree of spawn padding. And so we have instantiate all of that. Lowest rotation value is greater than that minus the spawn padding. Right? So that should reduce the rotation amount for the spawning. And so it should effectively move the entire spawning back by 10 degrees for us. And so that should hopefully make us spawn a little bit sooner. And so just to test this, we're just going to run it. And increase the speed. Ooh. I'm curious why the first spawn is off. What am I doing wrong to cause that? I think we can fix that later, but it's weird that that's happening at all. But this should be good. This is everything that we need, I think, for that. The next thing we need is a circular list. So let's create that. And I think we can just extend from a list. That may be a bad idea, but we could do it. Or we could expand from a linked list. It doesn't really matter, I don't think. But effectively what we're building here is a queue that repeats. And so what we want is we want to create some public, let's see, T type. It has to have some sort of type to it. And we want to return that type with like a get next function. And so what this is going to do is pop off. Yeah, I think we can do this. There were a few ways that we could have stored this. I could store the current node, or what I'm going to do is we're always going to be looking at the first node. And so that should actually make it work with like the link and things like that. Kind of. And so what we want to do is we want to get the next node, or get next value. Yeah. So what we're going to do here is actually be able to pull for the next value. And so what I want to do is do var val equals this dot first. Yeah, this dot first. And then what we want to do is do var or this dot remove first. Does this actually return the, it doesn't. Okay. So we grab the first node and then we remove it. And then we want to do this dot add last of the node. Let's call it a node instead of a value, because that's what it is. So we're working with a linked list here. And so the way linked lists work, which is slightly different than an array list or something like that, a linked list is a set of nodes that are organized into a series. And so each of those nodes is going to point to one other node or yeah, pretty much one other node. And it's going to effectively create that chain. And so you have some first node, and then that node knows what the next node is, and then that node knows what the next node is, and so on. And in this case, you also have some reference or pointers to like the last node. And I think node dot, yeah. So in this case, the nodes know about the next and the previous. So it's a doubly linked list, which means that the nodes know the next and the previous node attached to them. And so you can go in either direction. And in this case, we have that information. And so what we're going to do is do add last of that node and effectively just rearrange it. We're going to move. Does it let me do? Yeah. Yeah. So we're removing it from the first part node on the list, and then we're adding it to the end. And so now that node has a value, so we can just return the node.value. And that is our entire circular list. That's all we need to do, because everything else should just work. Downside is this isn't actually a full implementation. There's a few other issues, but as long as we're calling get next value, we should hopefully get the next value. So what I'm going to do to test this is do a new list, private circular list of strings, and these will be our options strings. Sure. And so we'll create the list like that. And I don't think it supports doing, because there's no add function. There's just an add last, add next, etc. So you can't actually use a list initializer. We can't just do foo bar, I don't think. Or maybe we can. Does that compile? No. It needs an add function. Accepting a first argument of type circular list string could be found. Why not? Let's see if we can actually make that work. So if we do public void add of t type, our value, I guess. So if I do this, I'm thinking I should be able to call like this dot add last and add the value, right? And so this will just append it to the end of the list. It's kind of hacky, but that should enable that syntax for us. And so we should be able to do this. So now we get to take advantage of the C# list constructors. And so we just need options now. So foo bar buzz baz if zap. Sure. So there's 6 names. And so what I want to do is every time we create something new, I'm not going to do it for the first 6 or whatever, but every time we create a new object down here, we are going to debug.log our option strings.get next value. And so that should automatically pop everything off and put it to the end. And so we should, every time we create a new option, we should get something new. And that hopefully can just be applied directly to our list when we're done. But we're not quite there yet. So let's start this at like a speed of 100. This should go pretty quick this way. Okay, there's a whole lot of these errors. But I think it's working. It's kind of hard to tell. Being set with parent property. Consider using the set parent method instead. Okay, let's do that. That's weird, but okay. I can follow your weird ways. So the reason I'm saying this is weird is that parent is a property. And so you're already calling it setter. I'm confused why you would do it this way. Maybe there's some other thing. World position stays set to false. That's why. False. So that's why. Okay, so there's an extra argument there that I was ignoring, and that was causing the warning. Ah. Now it's off the screen. Great. We want true. There. Let's give that a shot. Cool. Okay. I want to make this not collapse. If zap buzz. Okay, this doesn't seem like it's working. And maybe I'm just so either we're getting way too many log statements or something else is going on. Because I would only expect it to a little confused. It seems like we're getting like way too many prints for the amount of things that we're doing. So if I really slow this down, what happens? All right, that's too slow. But I want this to be slow because we should get one thing, and we got 45. That's not right. Why did we get 45 things? So my guess is this Euler rotation thing. It's too far back. How do we fix that? I don't actually know. I don't know a good way to fix that. Right? Yeah. So we could do something really janky. We could like shift everything by 90 and then take the mod of 360. Whoa. Of 360. Right? That would work. It would be wrong, but it would work. We just need to undo all of that. So we need to like subtract 90 again down here. right? That works. It's not even remotely right, but it does work, I think. We need to increase this again. Oh, hi. Okay, it doesn't work. I don't know why I thought it would. We should be able to add 360 to it, right? But that doesn't actually change anything. Okay, this is weird. I hate working with rotations. I should point that out. And especially Euler rotations get really messy when you get near these parts, like where we're at. Oh, because also there's that. Okay. Yeah, this is confusing and annoying. We could modify the lowest rotation value, but that has implications because we're actually trying to use it. Okay. Annoying. So I should talk about what I'm pretty sure is happening here, because then we can work on fixing it. We are tracking the rotation by Euler angle, so 0 to 360 degrees. The problem that we're running into is we are spawning things with less than 360 things. So we're spawning below 0. And what that's causing it to do is to wrap around backwards. And so it's now negative 30 is now 330. Which means that instead of being the smallest value, it is now the largest. And that is causing problems because effectively what this is causing is when we're getting that new object to be created, it's not just creating it once. It is creating it X number of times, depending on how fast our game is running. And so I guess to illustrate this, we speed this up just a little. We should get to a point where it starts doing that. And so if I select that final option, this one, what? Why can't, hold on. Confusion. What? Hold on. Okay. Good. Great. What? Why was I able to remove things and have it come back? That's weird, but okay. Okay. I don't know what was going on there. We're just going to speed this up again. We should get to a point where things get created and we're here. I'm going to disable it and take a step forward. And it's still here, but that disabled thing is gone now. You notice how it's disappearing? That's because it's getting destroyed, because its rotation is actually greater than that value. And so I think actually, thinking about this, I don't know what that plus 90 is. We can get rid of it. And the mod 60, that can go away as well. What's actually happening is that padding value that we added. This spawn padding, I think that's causing all these issues because we're getting them spawning then in negative space. Ooh, ignore that. That's just a bug. Let's make this go fast. 1. Okay, perfect. So this fixes it because it's actually spawning it exactly where we need it to. And so we only get that one option selected. All of this is important because otherwise we would cycle through every option, however fast. By making sure that we only cycle through one, we get actually a consistent circle. The only difference is our circle can be as big or as small as we want. So even if I make like a list with one element in it, this whole thing should still work. But if I make it with 6 like I have now, even though theoretically we could only render 5 elements, we're actually able to get all 6 of them because we're just wrapping through. So that's how this all works. We need to actually make this good though, because it's kind of clunky, and also that was just weird, that behavior. So let's see. How do we make this good? I don't know. There's a bunch of things that need to happen here to make this nice. One of them that we can actually do fairly easily is we can do an option label. This is going to be hard without having a autocomplete, but we want a text. So we're going to do using unityengine.ui. And we're just going to hope that's right. And then we want a public text. And this will be our label. And then we want a public string of the label content. And then in the start, we'll just do label dot something text equals label content, and hope all of that is right. Could be wrong, and then this all goes awful, but that's fine. And so what we actually want, instead of debugging out, we want to do var content equals all of that. And then for the selection option, we want to get the component from it. Get component of type option label, and do what was the name of it? Label content. And set that equal to our content. There we go. And then if I've done all of this right, what that should mean is I can turn on this like template that we've been working with, assign the option label here, and then drag this over and apply it. And now whenever we change this label content when we start, it should fix itself. At least that's the hope. So we should be able to run this and everything disappears. That is fine, I think, because we have nothing here and we haven't created any new elements. So we should be able to just speed this up. And now we get foo, bar, buzz, baz, biff, zap, foo, and it just repeats. And so we can add as many options as we want, and it should just keep going and creating new things. So that's the plan. It works. Great. There's a bunch of bugs, but we'll fix those later. Now what? I don't really know. Everything's getting created. There's a bunch of stuff that I want to do. I think what would be cool, we have this option label. We can modify this a bunch. So in here, we have this image. The image has a color. Let's work with that. So let's do public image, I guess. And let's do public color, image color, I guess. And so we can do image color equals the image dot color equals image color. Great names. Perfect. So what I want to do here, this is going to be hard without IntelliSense. So I am going to try to get that to work again. maybe the best thing to do is there we go. Let's try switching our editors. So I've been using Visual Studio Code. Let's switch to Visual Studio. That may be a mistake, but we're going to try it. And so this may take a bit to restart. But what I want to do is we can take the string name that we're applying. And what I like to do, I use this for a whole bunch of different things, but it's sort of a trick. Where you can use that to modify the hue of the color that we're going to use to display things. And so there's a few ways we could do this. We could have like a set number of colors that we'll display, or we could just randomly pick a color based off of the hue. Downgrading VS Code in the package manager to 11.3 sometimes does the trick. I haven't tried that. I can try that afterwards. Let's just try VS Code first, and then we'll play with that. I've been having a lot of actual, like, regarding the package manager, I've had a whole bunch of issues. Like I'm using 2019.3.11 only because all the previous versions of Unity didn't actually work at all because of weird package manager issues. I'm not really sure what causes that, but it's weird. Image color. We should be able to do color.hsv to RGB. And so we can provide a saturation. V is value. And then hue is going to be a number between 0 and 1, I think. And that's going to be between like the hue or color of the rainbow effectively. And so we can actually use that to kind of slide around or along the color spectrum. And so really all we need to do is turn a text label into a color. And then by doing that, we should be able to pull out something. So I'm just going to use hue, and we're just going to use hue. And then we'll give it 1 for that and 1 for that. And so really the only variable here is our hue. So what I'm hoping to do is plug this in like that. We can just drop that entirely. And then calculate text hash of our label.text, or I guess our label content. Generate the method. There. All right, so this is going to take it in some sort of string. We need to convert that string into some sort of float. The actual way we do this doesn't really matter. I've used hashes before. You can just use like a really quick hashing function. It genuinely doesn't matter. We just need to give us some unique value that is fairly random. It doesn't have to be perfectly random. It's not going to be perfectly random, but it should be kind of random just so that you don't get like all 0.9s or something like that. If we do, it's going to be really boring. So let's see here. Float, we want to do some initial seed value, float, hue equals 0, I guess. And then for each character, in our string, so in S, I guess is what we're using, we want to modify this hue value some way. I guess for this, we can just do s.length. And really, I'm not super concerned about this. I just want like random colors. And so we're just going to plug random numbers into this to get it to do things. This is not in any way like something that I'm doing. If we're using like an actual hash, those are actually intentionally done to create like a random output based off of your input. We're not doing that. We're literally just doing numbers. So our character should already be an int. So we just need to convert that to a float. We don't actually need to do anything to get that to happen. We do want to like reduce the resolution though. So let's just do like 0.01f. Sure. Why not? Is there any other thing we should do here? I guess we could do int I equals 0. And then we want to multiply this by I plus plus. We'll set that to 1 initially. And so what this is going to do is just give us different values per character for every character. So every character on your keyboard maps to a specific number. That's the character code. And so we're just pulling each of those values out as an int, multiplying it by a small-ish number. It's not super small. And then multiplying that by the character in the current string. So that way, if you type AAA, you don't get like 1 plus 1 plus 1. You get 1 plus 2 plus 3. Just so that there's a little bit of extra noise. We're just throwing numbers at the wall here. But we should get hopefully some random color out of this. Whether it's actually random, I don't know. The reason we're actually doing it this way, though, is so that if we just use like random.value or something to pull out a random value, the problem with that is for the same string, we would get different colors. And so by actually hashing out our string value into some string or some float, we can get the same result, same color for every time that we generate a color for that specific string. And so that means every time that we plug in foo, we're going to get, say, red. And every time we plug in bar, we're going to get blue. And so that way you kind of get a visual color representation of the string. And so it can be a little bit easier to pick out that specific option. So that's one of the things that I like to do with this. This is a really janky way of doing it. We can, if it doesn't work, we can fix it pretty easily, I'm hoping. But we'll see. So let's just return hue, and we can just mod 1.0. I think this works. We'll see. It could be really janky. It's going to be really janky, but we'll see. So did that actually work? Did I actually do everything that I did? I think so. Label content, cool. Image color, yeah. All right. Let's see if that actually works. I'm skeptical, but what's the worst that could happen? All of those should be fine. We don't actually apply the label. Like they're all blank and they're empty, so the saturation should get, or hue should be 0. Is this right? I may have screwed something up. We'll see. Yeah, I definitely screwed something up. Also, we're getting an exception. What was the exception? I totally missed it. Object reference not set to an instance of an object. Image. We didn't update our prefab. All right, that's easy enough to fix. Let's turn this on and pull our image in and apply it. There we go. And that should be all we needed to do there. I can disable this again and retry. Everything's red. That's because we plugged 0 in, and so it just gave us red. If we speed this up, though, we should get random colors. Blue, green, pink, teal, whatever that is. And then we should see this repeat over and over and over again. If I did this right, it'll keep repeating, and we'll get the same colors just in that 6-tone cycle. All right. So it seems to work. We seem to be getting random colors, so that's good. That's sort of what we want. Is there anything else we need to do with that? I think that's like the most basic way we can do this. And we don't really need to mess with it too much because we haven't really messed with the other two options here. I can kind of mess with those. But saturation is just going to be the amount of color. If we drop this down to 0, we should just get grayscale. So let's set this to like 100. Why not? And so this should give us similar results, but it should all be grayscale. Actually, now that I think about it, it should all be white because we're not modifying it at all. And so we're changing the hue of a white value, which isn't actually going to change anything. So bad example. But we can modify that in a different way and do like keep the hue constant and modify the saturation with our value. That should be a better example, I guess. There we go. Different colors of red. That makes sense. So effectively, this is modifying the intensity. And then if we go here and modify that V value like this, I don't think we need to mess with HDR, but we'll leave that. And then we do this. Now we get grayscale. Cool. All right. So we don't want either of those. We want just different colors. And so by modifying the hue, we get that. We could tweak these a little bit to kind of maybe make the colors less vibrant if we wanted to. I'm just going to leave them at 1 for now. It's fine. Yeah, that's janky random colors. It works, so it's good enough. Not really a requirement for what we're doing. It just makes it look a little bit nicer. So there we go. That is everything that we needed there. Random things. Let's make our text a little bit nicer. So we're going to make our text white and increase the font. And then we can just not see anything because white on white, but that's fine. We can actually change this color now, actually, now that I think about it. And it's gone. Great. 80. Nope. And this is the part where I forget how to use Unity UI well. Why is it gone forever? Okay. Great. I'm going to pretend like it worked. Disable that and try. See what happens. Our text is gone forever. Perfect. Great. I've ruined it. I don't know what happened. Oh, I disabled the text. That would do it. That would 100% do it. Great. I'm fantastic at this. Okay. Let's disable this and try again. See if that actually fixed it and get my hair out of my pop filter. Right. It's still kind of hard to read, and for some of these, that's probably because it's a little too vivid. We can probably fix that. So I mentioned we weren't going to touch this. If I drop this saturation down a bit, it should make the colors a little bit darker for us. And hopefully that makes them a little bit easier to see. I don't really feel like that helped at all. Like I don't actually think I wanted to change that one. We could probably parameterize those and make them a little bit easier to change. But I don't want to. so we're not. That makes it darker. There is like a way, there are formulas for actually making these colors have a similar lightness. So you see red, green, and blue at different intensities. I think it's like blue is the most intense, and then green, and then red, or something like that. Or maybe green, and then... Anyway, it doesn't really matter. But you see each of them at a different intensity. And so the problem there is if you're trying to get something to match the same brightness, you can't just tweak these things like I am. You actually have to tweak the RGB values independently in order to maintain brightness. And so for like contrast reasons, that could be useful. I'm not a color person, so I don't really know any of this stuff. I'm just kind of making it up. That's why we have the super jank hash function. But but that's like the limit of my knowledge. So that's where we are. But this seems fine. This seems like we get a good range of things. And the nice thing is we're no longer getting like that nice vivid green, which means we should be able to apply this to like a green screen now if we want to. What do I want to do next? We have all of those. I think what we want is to pull in some text stuff. So if we go into here, is this a good idea? We'll see. Option generator, maybe. Again, don't really know if this is a good idea, but it's what we're going to do. We can tweak it later. This is all sort of prototyping stuff, so the weirdness and awfulness is fine. But what we want is a list of options. And I guess the easiest way to do that is literally to just pull in a list of options from a text file. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to do file dot read all lines. And we just need a path. And we should be able to just pull whatever we want in. I don't know what the path is. I don't know where we want to put this. I don't know how this is going to work. But we'll figure it out. So for now, this is actually a good question. I don't really know. So what we could do, there's a few ways I'm thinking we could do this. One, I could store it in some sort of environment variable. And so instead of just giving it an actual path, I could do environment.get environment variable and put some name here. That could work. The advantage of this is it's really easy to tweak. So if I want to change where I'm pulling this from, it's fairly easy to do. The downside, we're going to be running this as like an HTML5 thing. I don't even know if it actually would have access to this at all. I don't think it would. I don't actually know if it can read files in general. I probably should test that. But that's an option. The other option is just like a flat path. So you can just do like some relative path and say like, I don't know. Let's actually be a little bit more explicit. So get current directory, get working directory. I don't know. Current directory. Why not? And we want to join that, not like that. We want to do like a path.join. Is it path? What is it in C#? It's not a join, it's combine. Get directory name, get file name. All right. So we'll combine these paths. So the advantage of using combine versus just like manually concatenating strings is you actually more intelligently do that. So if there's like two slashes, so maybe one string ends in one and one has the other, it avoids creating these weird path names that don't actually make any sense. Because it just kind of simplifies everything for you. So we can get the current directory and just do like a options.txt. Because why not? We should probably figure out where that is. So let's do directory.get current directory and just print that out. Read all lines. It's just going to return a string array. So if we do this, I think we want string array public. Let's make this just a static class because testing is not going to happen. So this should be fine. Options generator, get options. Sure. This seems fine. We can just directly return that. And so we just want to do inside of our, where are we? Here. Inside of our generate wheel, we have this circular list. Let's do option strings and set that equal to our option generator. Get options and leave it there. That's not going to work. We need to turn that into a list. Does this work? Kind of have like a custom file, so it might be a little bit weird. Doesn't have a constructor that takes one argument. That's too bad. So we're just going to add that constructor now, I guess. So circular list of type t-type. Let's just do an I enumerable of type t-type. And we'll just give it some sort of set. So you can initialize this with a set. And then we want to do for each var object in the set. This dot add last object. Cool. And that's it. That should be enough to actually initialize this list. And that should make our constructor work. And then I can remove this. Public circular list. Blah. There we go. Just to allow that to still work. We can remove all these default arguments though. They're not needed. So we'll just get an empty list and then we will generate our options from our empty string. This could get weird. But that's fine. I'm gonna, there. I guess my Visual Studio is no longer set up for streaming and stuff, but it should be fine. So let's figure out where our current directory is. Object reference not set to an instance of an object. So it's actually at the root of our project. So what I should be able to do is open up that file. There. Let's see, show Explorer. And let's go here. Create a new file. And just call it options. There. And so this is our options.txt file. And really all we need is options. So let's do bar zoom zap the bang bop whiz pop. Sure, why not? So there's a bunch of options. There's 8, I guess. What happens if we run this now? Does it work? Does everything bar zoom zap bang? Cool. Okay. So now we're loading things. I don't actually know how this works. If I try to do this from a HTML5 thing, but on the bright side, we actually get these options. And I'm imagining that we're going to be pulling from something other than a text file in the future. I would like to connect this to like a web service or something, or maybe like a Google Sheet or something like that. So we can actually just pull in options from a form or something and make it super easy. But for now, it works. So that's good enough for me. We can fix the graphics later. Really, all we need is actually I don't even know. Like the idea is we would get a random result. And so in order to get that to actually work, I'm actually going to need a way to spin this. So if I set this, yeah. So the way this is all set up is the size of the options is actually fixed. So I can actually take this and do something like that, and yeah, Anyway, we get a whole bunch of options, and the actual UI doesn't change. The idea is this way we can actually have any number of, this is way too fast for this example at least, but this way we actually get like a circular list of options and it cycles through them. And so no matter how many things are there, whether it's one or thousands, it's always going to look the same, but we can display an infinite number of things. So it doesn't really matter how many options are there. It should always render correctly, hopefully. And also you get results like this. So that's sort of the motivation here. That's why I'm doing all this weird stuff. I feel like it's going to make it nice, but I don't actually know if it is. It seemed like a good idea at the time, so that's why we're doing it. Whether it actually was, I don't know. Let's see. That speed is variable, so we can actually cheat a whole bunch. I will just do a speed modifier. This is not the correct way to do this, but it's going to work. So we're going to do it. And then a lot of this is like MVP kind of stuff. So we can kind of fake things and get it working. So we're going to do like a public float, min speed, public float max speed. And then public float speed modifier and speed exponent. I don't think we need that. So for this, I think we actually need a option generator or the generate wheel. So public generate wheel. There we go. And so we're going to modify the wheel's speed. So we're going to do wheel.speed equals mathf.lerp. So we're just going to select a random value between the min and the max. So max speed and then random.value. So lerp is a linear interpolation, which means you take 2 points and it selects somewhere between them based off of the t value. And so since we're providing a random thing, it's going to give us a random value between the two. It's effectively like a plus b minus a, like this. I think this is the function that it ends up being, times t. I think that's how that all ends up working out, if I'm remembering. But I don't actually remember, so we're guessing. Let's see here. Wheel speed, that should be fine. Speed modifier also should be fine. What we're going to be doing here is just doing wheel.speed and just modifying the speed and reducing it. So the reason I was looking at the exponent is I actually wanted to slow down faster and then, yeah, get different things. There's also a problem here with all of this. We don't know how many options there are. If there are thousands, we may not even get all the way around the circle by just doing it this way. And so we actually we'll probably want to do something based off of the options. I don't have that right now, so we're kind of skipping it and we're just going to fake it. But that's probably what we want to do. So wheel.speed minus equals time.delta time times the speed modifier, I think. But I don't think we want it like this. We actually are going to want like some min-max thing. So wheel.speed equals mathf.max of the wheel speed minus that function with a minimum of 0. And so what this is going to do is if it ever would go negative, it just stops instead. And so this will prevent it from actually going backwards. And that should be everything that we need. It might, because we don't have like that exponential modifier, we kind of need to be aggressive with how fast we slow things down. And it might look really sudden. We probably do want some sort of exponential thing. Because if I make this between like 1,000 and 5,000, If I set this to 100, it's going to take between 10 and 50 seconds to stop. That's probably too long. So there's like some modifiers there that we need to tweak, because that's just too long. But we can run this and hopefully see something happen. Yeah, like, this is just ridiculous. But it should stop eventually, right? 2000, it's slowing down slowly, down to 1,000. So you can kind of see it slow down, and then eventually it should come to a stop. And there we go, pop phased. Random keys. But that way we actually get an option. We can probably tweak this even more and have it like snap so it actually aligns perfectly with an option. That's a later thing. This for now is all like, yeah, weird stuff. That's the wrong thing. Let's add that exponential public float speed exponent. How do I do this? Times. There's no easy way to do this, is there? Because we have the time modifier. I don't know if this is as simple as I thought it would be. Right? Because yeah, that's not going to be fun at all. Wheels.speed times equals how do we want to do this? Equals mathf.lerp. So we'll do another linear interpolation between the wheel speed and 0, and do the speed exponent times the time delta time. This is not correct math, as far as I know. This isn't how you should do this, but it doesn't matter. Like a lot of the things, we can kind of fake it. It's entirely a visual effect, and so we don't actually need to be correct. We just need to kind of make it look good. And so this should, if we give it like a tiny little exponent, it should kind of help, especially for large values, it should slow down significantly faster. So we can give it like an exponent of 10, I guess, and see what happens. And it stopped. Oops. A little too fast. Speed exponent 1. Why did it stop so fast? Wheel.speed, speed exponent times the time delta. That shouldn't have stopped so fast. I'm a little confused. That's actually much better. It stops a little bit fast, but it kind of gets the idea across. We can leave this pretty small, I think, and still get a pretty good effect. I'm just trying to make it so we can get some really fast speed at first, so it actually gets around, but it stops relatively quickly, so we actually like get a result. Otherwise, we'd just be watching something spin for a very long time. So it seems to work. We actually get a thing. So let's actually try to like integrate this into whatever. I'm going to open up. How do we want to do this? There's two things that I want to fix. One, I want to actually fix that default UI option that we're using. We're just using like a default knob, I guess. I'm going to swap that out with something better. And then I also want to do a background change. It'll probably be like some really bright green or something. It just needs to be something that I can green screen, and then we can actually embed that into OBS. And that should be everything, I think. So let's open up Photoshop and see what we can do. Maybe? There we go. Let's bring that over there just quickly so I can create a new file. There we go. And we don't need anything fancy at all for this. I'm literally just going to create an ellipse and add a stroke, and that's literally the entire thing. There isn't anything fancy going on. So we're going to add some black outline. Sure. Sure. That's good enough. Center it. That actually matters because we're actually cutting parts of it. And so if it isn't centered, it isn't going to look very nice. And then we can remove the background and we're done. Cool, done. Easy. Let's go find my project. I forget what I called it. There we go. Topic wheel, assets. Okay. So there's that. That should be our option wheel.psd. Unity should support Photoshop files, so this should be fine. And so I should just be able to go like that. And we're done. I do need to apply that, but everything else should work. There is a difference in size now because we're using that new file. I think it should change, but it looks fine. We can modify things if we need to. I'm hoping we don't. So we can kind of just move on. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and we'll fix it. There is a wheel of options. Cool. That's it. That's all we need. I don't know what that partial red thing is though. There's like a clipping thing going on down at the bottom. I'm not entirely sure. Oh, that's because I still had that option enabled. That's what that is. Okay. So that won't actually be there. So everything else should be fine. We should have a working wheel of options. What else? Let's change this to the gross color. So we just max out the green. This is mostly for the green screening. I'm going to add a green screen so that we can actually avoid it. I should be able to just throw this into OBS so we can get an overlay. That's sort of the end goal. We'll see how this works. There's probably something I forgot, but we run this. Everything still looks fine. There are some green colors in our options, but they're hopefully light enough or different enough that we can like filter out just that specific green and not get anything crazy going on. I'm hoping that's the case. I could be wrong, but we'll see. What else? That should be it, right? Cool. Let's run this. Build. Let's do WebGL. I don't actually know if this is going to work. Part of the thing that could be a problem is file operations from HTML5. I don't actually know if that's a thing you can do. So we're going to try switching platforms to WebGL, and then we can just build it and then try to actually drop it into OBS, which I'm using to stream. So that could be a mistake, but we won't know until we try. So apparently it needs to re-import everything. So I guess we're stuck, but all right. So if we build this, we should be able to just throw this into builds folder. Cool. And does it work? We may have like some weird inception stuff. I don't think I'm going to show you my OBS settings. I have a video on what I did to make all that work in the past. Since I have like Twitch stuff here, just for all the people that like follow and whatever, I'm not probably going to show that. But you should be able to see the wheel pop up, hopefully. That should be how that ends up working. We will see. I don't actually know how well this is going to work. We should be able to actually run this twice, I think. I should be able to open this in a browser, and I should be able to import it into OBS. We'll start with the browser. That will be like the best option. And then with OBS, we can do that afterwards. This always takes longer than I think it's going to take. I'm used to working with like web projects where if the build takes more than a few seconds, something's wrong. Here, it seems like if it doesn't take a few minutes, it probably didn't work. So unfortunately, we're just kind of stuck waiting for our code to compile. Can the options be filled by Twitch chat? That is sort of what I'm hoping. Like the long term of this is that you'd be able to type some chat command and submit something to some queue. And then I can like pick that queue and pull up a spinner and it will just go. That's sort of like the long-term goal. We're not there yet. But since really we just need anything that can modify a text file. So if you could submit something to a text file, it should work. I think we could make something really cool though that is more integrated than a text file. There might be some databases in the future. I don't really know how that's going to work. Yeah, we can make this really cool. If it's something that I end up using a lot, we'll probably play with it more. Or if it's just something people want to see, we can play with it more. I don't really know. If it might just be something that I like build and use once and then never touch again. In which case, it doesn't make a lot of sense to spend all that time like creating databases and services and architecting this cool thing to like have a Twitch bot or script that reads Twitch chat and does all the integration stuff. Because that could take time. and there's other things that we could build. So yeah, it all really depends on what people want to see and what we build. This is taking forever. Great. Yeah, so the origin, I guess, of this project. Oh, cool, it's done. But the origin of this project was sort of I want a way to like have like if you kind of like start streaming and have like a dead zone and you don't know what you want to do, or there's an option to like play something or whatever. This kind of gives us the option to do that. It seems your browser does not support running WebGL content from file URLs. Please upload to a file server. I don't really want to do that. Hold on. I can probably fix this. Let's try. Do I not have Firefox? Okay, cool. We're going to skip this part and go right to the Unity integration because we can. I also need the options inside of that build. I'm hoping that's where they need to be. I don't actually know. And it occurs to me at this point that I don't really have any way of actually testing that. So we are just going to add a browser source to OBS. So there's now like this gross thing. There. So the way this works, I need to select a local file and give it the path to my file. And then we can change the size. So I'm going to set it to 1,000 by 1,000. And so the way this works is OBS can create a web renderer inside of itself. And effectively what OBS is just a big composite system, sort of like just an operating system. It layers a bunch of things on top of one another. And so in this case, it's layering a web browser or the rendering of a web browser on top of everything else that I have. And so I'm actually able to provide a bunch of stuff. I don't really remember what I need to set, so we're just going to make that happen. And it launches Unity, and we get a green screen, which means it didn't work. It means we got options that didn't load. And I have no way of debugging that, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think I have a way to fix that. Pretty sure. How do I fix that? So I guess the first thing we can do is get rid of that green. So OBS has filters. You can have audio and you can have effect filters. What we want is a chroma key that is going to remove all of the green from this. I can get rid of that like Unity logo later. But for now, I'm just going to get rid of the green. And so that gets rid of that giant green background. That's actually a rendered thing. So it should be fine. What we need, I guess, so I'm going to give it an explicit path to this options file and rebuild it and see if that works. One of the problems with this whole approach is there isn't actually a really good way for me to see logs. I can't really see what's going wrong, I don't think, with the browser render. And so it's kind of a guessing game. I probably don't need to guess. There's probably a way to fix that. I just don't know how to do it. So we're guessing. Where was the file loading thing? This. All right. The one that I accidentally hid. All right. So let's throw that path there. And then instead of that, not that, there. We can do something like this, I guess. Windows paths have backslashes, which are annoying because they're escape characters in like everything. And so in this case, we need to actually double slash them. You can actually use them in reverse, so you don't need to use these backslashes. I think that's what they're called. I always get them confused. But you don't need to use them. You can actually use the other slash, and it should just work. But we're going to do this. So there's our explicit path. That should be the full path to this file. This is less nice, but hopefully it kind of helps. There's a few other options to us. We could like explicitly give a label or something and use that label to kind of print out debug information, like where is the current path. I'm not doing that, so. And also, like if we run a binary, we actually get output. I don't get that here. So there isn't anything preventing us from just running this as a normal non-HTML thing and just doing everything normally. The only advantage really of using WebGL here is since it's just a web browser, OBS knows how to launch this. If I use like a game renderer for OBS, it will work, but I need to actually launch the executable file. And that's just more work. So I'm trying to avoid that by having OBS be able to just say, run this web page and do that. And when we start getting into those fancier things like Twitch integration or something, theoretically we could host this out on some, like my personal site or something. And you could just give it a Twitch channel or whatever. some topic, and it could actually figure out how to actually pull specific things for you. So you didn't actually need to do too much. I don't actually know how well that's going to work, but we're going to, it's an option. So let's build this again and wait. Hopefully it should be faster this time. I think Unity can do like a Delta compilation. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's how that works. So this should be faster. Or it could be wrong and it could take forever. We'll find out. It looks like we elected the take forever route, but that's okay. Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe it is better if we do a binary. There's advantages to both, I guess. But I personally felt like the WebGL was the better route. So the downside is with this, we don't get any logs. So there's no log file here after we run it. And there's no real way that I know of in OBS to actually view the errors. And so we just kind of get stuck like where we are right now, where I don't really know what's happening. And there's limitations with WebGL compared to everything else. Because we're not running it as a local file, we're kind of guessing in the dark as far as opening files goes. So yeah, we'll see. Oh, all right. Everything still seems fine. I think we're almost done. The WebAssembly stuff should be the final bit. And then we should know. I think I should be able to reload this fairly easily. There shouldn't be too much that I need to do as far as like modifying OBS because everything's already configured. You can't see it, but like the file, whoa. All right, so I'm getting confused. There's multiple mice. There we go. We still have the WebGL renderer here, so it should still work. I just need to actually force it to reload, which I can do using this. So this is what I'm actually using to configure the whole thing. We just need to click this refresh cache of current page, and that should fix everything. Once that finishes, there you go. Done. So if I click this, we'll see it reload. Made with Unity and nothing. So we're seeing nothing here, but that isn't actually nothing. Like I said, we have a filter. So we have this chroma key filter that is actually pulling out the green. If I turn that off, we get the green screen again. So yeah, we can just get rid of that. Let's see here. Let's switch back to this. Server build. Okay, that's not what we want. Let's switch back to this and give this a shot. I think we can actually get this running tonight with the like normal x86 PC based build. I think that should be easily doable. So let's do this. We can swap back to that build. That should give us just a little bit more configuration. And then, let's see. What's a development build again? Doesn't really matter. Let's do this. Builds. And let's create a PC build. Typically, I separate all my builds by platform, but I didn't the first time because I just kind of thought it would work. But it didn't, so now we're going to do this. It also means that the browser configuration I have isn't going to be a thing. We're going to need a different source. Like I said, OBS composes a bunch of different sources together. And so one of those sources is a web browser. The other source is this one, which is like a game source. And so the downside of this is it might be a little bit difficult to actually get to work. I need to think about how the whole thing is actually gonna function. So if I open this topic wheel, it's just gonna run. Also, it didn't work. Also, everything's green. That's fine. I need this options.txt inside of that PC thing. So if we run this again, it's massive and it spins and it stops, which is fine. But one, that is very bright, and two, I don't like it. So we're gonna tweak a few settings, I think. Splash screen. Can you just turn it off? Yeah, gone. Other settings, resolution. Ideally, we want this in a windowed mode of 1000 by 1000. Run in background, sure, definitely. Resizable window, sure, that's fine. Don't really care. Aspect ratios, other. Okay, good enough. Yeah, that should be good. I don't think there's anything else we need to change. The downside with all of this is it launches as soon as we restart. And so the problem is once I click run, it's going to open a new window and run it and like spin the wheel immediately. The problem there is I don't have a way to like restart that, and it also interferes with like how the sources work. If I go and create a new like game capture, that looks like this. And so I can select specific applications here. The problem is they need to be running, and it isn't running. So there's no way for me to actually like grab that application right away. But we should be able to run this by just double clicking that, and we get it to start up and spin. We don't have any splash screen or anything because I turned that off. And so we just get this, which is perfect. So I'm going to remove that browser source. And then maybe there is a way to do this intelligently. So if I start this, I start that topic wheel, we can select the topic wheel sample or not. Give me a sec. We want to capture a specific window, and we want topic wheel.exe. Okay, so there's that. That is now over everything. It looks like this. And so I can now apply a filter here. So this is what it looks like. We have an effect filter. I can do that and apply a chroma key. And now it's gone. We have green on the screen already, so I can actually reduce this similarity pretty significantly to like that point. Just enough so that the green is gone around the outside, and everything else should be good. And then we can just bring this all the way down here. And like that, those are our options now. And so we have our spinny wheel of doom. And so if I close this, what I'm hoping is when I launch this again, we would get the game again, and we didn't. That's a problem. Oh, there it is. Hi. Also a problem. It showed up, but it's gone already. Okay. This is why I wanted to use a web browser. Because this is annoying. What's the if we do a web browser based thing, I guess open file Unity HTML5. Open file panel. No. Maybe there's a limitations section. Stripping, issues with code stripping, moving build files. Okay, so we can get this open in a browser using allow file access from files. Let's try that. Let's see what happens when we do that. So we shouldn't actually need to rebuild anything in order to get that to work. We should just be able to open our topic wheel. I'm going to hide the game view. That's distracting. And we can just close it entirely. But we should be able to go into builds. We have our index. We have our options. So this is like our HTML5 based thing. And so what I should be able to do, hopefully, is go into, does terminal work? Terminal. That's not really what I wanted to do anyway. It's fine. We'll just close that, copy that, and do this. So this gets us our terminal. We can, what? That's not what I wanted there. Still not what I wanted. E-development. Unity, and we had our topic wheel and build. Builds. What? There. All right. Forgot how to use the terminal. Great. So we want to start Edge with that option. This one. Allow file access from files. Okay. Let's try this. Choco install Chrome. Doesn't exist. Why not? Google Chrome. All right, got it. We're making this way more difficult than it needed to be. But we can install this with Chocolatey, which is like a package manager for Windows. And so if we go here and do Choco install Google Chrome, I thought I already had this installed, but it's fine. This will install it'll throw an error. I need admin. So we can do start process, PowerShell, verb, run as. All right, here we go. And then I can take that off screen, I guess, and we'll just do Choco install Google Chrome. All right. That one actually worked. Great. Nice. Software install. And then if we do Chrome, this thing, allow file access from files, Chrome doesn't exist. Great. Okay. One sec. Open file location. Where are you? Sorry, I'm apparently on a scavenger hunt for Chrome. So I think I found it. So we should be able to just do this. Allow file access from files. Quotes. This is going great. I know what I'm doing, I swear. I don't know what I'm doing. Help. Unexpected token. Okay. Sure. I am not amused. Okay, let's see here. So this does not work. Try a different browser. Great. Files do not work. I guess we could do this this way. So this is the shortcut for Chrome. We should just be able to add this here, right? I've never really tried this. Kind of outside of things that I want to do. Also, I should probably point out, don't do this. Don't just no. I don't think that's right. That's where we're going to start it in. Which we don't want. Application. There we go. So I think I can provide an extra thing. Nope, that's not right. Why? Nope. Okay. Well, we tried. All right. It really doesn't like that. Let's ignore that. And compatibility stuff, shortcut details, previous version, none of that. All right. I don't know how to get that to work. Put it in quotes. So I think we did, right? So here we have the Chrome in quotes, and then we have the parameter. That should work. I've never really tried to run something like this before. The only other option I can think is like do that. And then we can copy and paste and see what happens. Maybe this will work. But I don't really know. Yeah. Oh, there we go. Cool. All right. I guess that works. Let's see if that actually fixed it. Cool. All right. So that actually works. This doesn't work, but that's fine. It means we can inspect this, and we should see an error if I've done this right. That entire process was just to see this error. Could not find file, blah. Okay, that error is not useful. Great. Open files in Unity HTML5. None of those are useful. Unreal docs, very relevant. I think it's becoming very obvious that I haven't done this before, which is true. So, yeah, I'm not entirely sure what's going on here at this point. It's sort of a guessing game of hoping that we see something. Native file browser. Okay. How do we open a file from HTML5? Is there a good solution? I don't really know. Unity 3D HTML5 WebGL open local file. Here. Good. That's that's perfect. So that answer, whatever it is exactly what I wanted apparently, but it doesn't exist. Can we see a cached version? Maybe. I think the answer is no. I don't I don't think it's there. Oh, all right, it's there now. Download the file first. What is this? Returns the contents of a fetched web page as a string. We might be able to make that work. Yeah, we can make that work. Sure. All right, let's do something super janky. www. Why doesn't it like that? Obsolete. Use Unity web request. Unity web request. .text. .get. Okay, so this looks like normal REST stuff. So we're gonna do a get on our file. This is a terrible idea, but okay, sure. I'm not gonna complain. We're gonna do that, and we're just gonna do file : // and that. Sure, right? This should work. There shouldn't be any problem with this. Don't do this ever, but it's fine. Var request, sure. Request dot get. How do you use this? I don't actually know how to use these. It's been a while. Send web request. Does an async operation. Okay. Fun. Let's do that. Async. That's not a good idea. That's a keyword, I'm pretty sure, but oh well. Async dot completed. See, so the problem is we're expecting to have those options loaded at the end of this. So like all of this is awful. Like we didn't really design this to do async stuff like this is trying to do. And that's going to cause problems because what we would want to do is subscribe to this completed event and then read the results. We can't do that because we don't have results because it's an async thing and we just made the request. Great. What if we use the obsolete thing? Dot load from cache or download. That seems like a bad idea. So let's try that. We do foo just to move on. Is done. Okay. So this is also async. Great. Okay. I have dug myself a hole that I really don't want to dig myself out of. I think we might have to, though. So I could hard code something in for now. That would work. I think the question is, do I want to do that or not? And is there a better way? This seems like especially for like local stuff, this seems like not the best way to do this. Uploading local files to server with WebGL. www form. And they're doing like REST requests. Great. Okay. Load image into texture. Start coroutine. We may do something really bad. This whole thing has been like a don't do this kind of thing, but this is a real don't do this kind of thing. We're going to do a task dot wait. I think I can do that. Dot run, and we can do something like this and make this async, and then do request dot send web request and await var results. Can I do this? Doesn't have a get awaiter. Okay, I can't do that. Whoa. Why not? Async operation has invoke completion events. Okay. So this isn't something I can await. Yeah. Great. Fantastic. Okay. More stuff that we shouldn't do. Allow scene activation, web request. So effectively what I'm trying to do here, because I'm not really talking about it because I don't want to do it, is I'm trying to turn this into a blocking request. That's effectively just going to stop everything until this works. When I said don't do this, I mean it. This is like the worst way to solve this. So in hindsight, actually, there is a much better way to do this. We can just do the completed like that. We don't need any of that. This will be much better. This will make a whole bunch of sense, I think. Maybe. What is the completed event return? An async operation. So we want a public event handler, async operation, completed. Oh, this is a bad idea, but it'll be fine. I won't regret this at all. Get options is going to do that. We are going to send off this completed event so you can subscribe to that. And then when this it completes, we are going to do result. That's not the right operation. Plus equals. There we go. So we get that async operation coming in, and then we do completed question what? Dot invoke. Invoke is optional here. It's actually implied by what we're doing, but we're just going to do that anyway. And we're just going to do request as the sender and the result as the result. This is not a good idea in any way. This is a static class, so we're just going to make that static. Okay. This is a recipe for disaster, but that's okay. Generate wheel. We're getting rid of the start method. Sort of. We are doing something really, really bad. So what we're going to do is we are going to subscribe to that completed event inside of start. So we're going to do option generator dot completed, and we are going to do plus equals something. We have two things coming in. We have our sender and our other thing. We can just give it a function. Let's do on options completed. Sure. And we want to move all of this stuff into that. So there we go. We just downloaded a file and did something. This is a terrible idea. It's going to work though, I think. It might not work, but it'll be fine. So what's happening here is we are now going to fire off this get options event like that. And then eventually it's going to call back this completed thing. And that is going to initialize our list. So up to this point, we're not going to have anything in our list. It's just going to be this idle thing. Downside of this is our entire thing is going to be spinning prior to anything coming in. So we may get some weird results this first few times we run this, especially in that update function. That could be a problem. We'll fix that later. So what this is going to do is it's going to fire that off. And then inside of that async operation, we're going to get is done. How do I actually use this? .text. Like there's nothing here. Allow scene activation. Great. Something more useful would be great. So option generator is going to send that off. Do I use the request? Request dot text dot get response headers. Those aren't what we want. None of this is what we want. Download handler dot data dot text. Okay. Is this a blocking thing? Would this just block? Could I just use that? We'll see. So we want to get our request Unity web request as a sender. So we're going to do sender as that. And we want our download handler .text, I think. .split. We want to split it by the new lines. So /n. This is the worst idea I've had in a very long time. Might work. Probably going to explode, but that's okay. So what this should do, probably won't, but what it should do is send off this request to whatever file we have, wherever it is. The cool thing with this is it now works anywhere, theoretically. So we could have this file located like on some remote server somewhere. So going back to, will this work with Twitch chat? This would make it much easier. Because then all we need is like a shared text file anywhere. Like this could work on like a GitHub file or something like that. And we could just send this request up there, pull that file down, split it, and use that as the option list. Downside is a whole bunch of things. This is not how I should have done this at all. But I did. So now we're going to see what happens if I press this button. And it breaks. That's expected. I don't think it ever actually returned. So what we can do is drop a breakpoint in here and here, I think. Those probably aren't the best places to put that. Let's put it here. This all seems like a terrible idea. So we're just going to fire this web request off. That connects our debugger. And now we can actually run this. Hopefully. We do this. We have a request. If I open up the download handler, what's in here? Text. Nothing. Great. Continue. There was a whole bunch of errors. Line 52. Options is uninitialized, so that's throwing errors. Fantastic. It's still throwing errors. Is that... Am I ever submitting that web request? I have questions. That was the wrong button. Send web request dot completed. You know, there's probably a better way to do this. So I am going to do the smart thing and just look up how to use this. That seems obvious, but yeah, we're just going to do that. Get. Oh, I should actually talk about this. There are a bunch of different ways to send requests in RESTful methods. There's get, post, put, and delete. Those are like the 4 common ones. Get is what you do all the time. It's effectively like pulling resources in. Usually it's a read-only operation. It's like, I want to see what is at google.com or whatever, or Twitch or worldofzero.com or wherever. It's going to just pull things. We're trying to get a file, so we're using a get method. There's also a post, which is going to submit information. Like if you're submitting a form, you need to actually submit things, or if you're doing anything like that. Put is similar. They have a slightly different use cases. And then delete is going to be like deleting records. So if you ever need to remove something from somewhere, that's what you would do. I could get into more about post, put, and delete. Not going to, because it's not really related to what we're doing. So we're just going to move on and not talk about that anymore. So if we look at this Git, they actually have nice things. Oh, wait, hold on. Coroutines. Coroutines make so much sense. Why didn't I think of coroutines? Okay, that actually is smart. We're just gonna cheat. Okay, so we're not going to do this. We are going to do a coroutine to get the options. I don't think we can do it quite as nicely as they have here. So we're just going to use that as like a template of things. So we have a URI. Let's actually private static void. It's going to be a coroutine, so it actually needs to be an IEnumerable. And this is going to be perform, or just get string URI. That done. That should do all of that. And then for actually doing the coroutine, we can just do start coroutine. this isn't going to work because it's not a mono behavior. That's fine. We can actually provide a like host mono behavior as part of this. So we're just going to do, how do we want to do this? A host. That's probably not the best way to do this, but we're going to do host.start coroutine, and we are going to start get of a URI, which is this gross thing. Does that actually work? I don't actually know. Cannot convert from IEnumerable to string. I thought it would accept in IEnumerable. Hold on. Enumerator. Got it. That makes sense. So that fixes that. We can remove those. We have our debug. Cool. Error received is network error. It's fine. Page length, pages. This is all of our results. Enumerator, I think we can just do a string, right? Is that going to work? No, because we're doing that. How do we get the results? Web request download handler.text. Okay, so this is actually printing out what we actually got. So if we get a successful result, it does this. We want to complete something with this. Is there a way to make a coroutine return something? I don't think so, because it's a coroutine. That could be annoying. All right. What's the best way to do that then? So download handler.text, that's going to be the text of whatever we got. We need to send that all the way back to everything else. So we can actually do that and then just do completed question dot invoke our web request, and then the async operation. I don't think we want that. We want text. So we're going to do web request dot download handler. Whoa. Download handler dot text. There we go. And so that is our response. And so we should be getting that. We can swap this out for strings. And so we're going to send back a large like string blob effectively back to whatever made this request. And then our generate wheel needs to actually take this string and split it. And that's it. We don't even need to do anything else. We can just do e.split. Results. Done. Okay, much easier. Mono behavior host, that's going to be this. Okay. This seems like we made this very complicated. And I'm not sure I really like where we took this, but you know, it's a thing. So we're gonna pretend like it worked, and then we'll fix it later. So there's a bunch of errors. Let's ignore those and let's run this and see what happens. Probably nothing good. We start our coroutine. Great. We continue and we get our results. What's the result? Empty. That's unfortunate. So that didn't work. Why not? That's not right. So let's just provide like a hard-coded path for this and see if that works. Object reference not set to an instance of an object. Options.txt. Cool. Let's go there. And our options generator. Gross. Let's do that. All right. This is a terrible way to do this as well, but it's fine. Builds/options. Cool. We have one too many parentheses, so I'll drop that. And this looks gross. It's fine though. We're just gonna leave it there and pretend like it's fine. And run this and see what happens. Can't be worse than we're already doing. So, oops, wrong thing. Continue. Hey, it worked. Yay. Did it work? I think so. It looks like we still got an error. So I'm gonna run that one more time just to double check, because I'm paranoid like that. Oh, okay. So what's happening here? We are pulling the file almost immediately, but it is a coroutine, so it's going to take effectively it's like a deferred thing. So we're saying run this function and then come back when you're done. Problem with that is we have this update function that's actually expecting to do things. And so it's going to try to actually run this. We didn't initialize our options though. So we don't have any options. They don't exist. And so the problem we run into is this doesn't work. We can't actually do anything with that. And so we will actually need to build something there. What I'm going to do is move this into awake and change this to this.enabled equals false. Does that work? Will that work? That might not work. And we'll set this to true. So my hope is that that prevents us from running our start and update methods. So there's a difference in the lifecycle of Unity objects. Awake gets called first, and then start is called immediately before the first update of the object. And so because we were in start previously, what was happening is we would start something, and then we would try to go into the update immediately afterwards, and then the coroutine would complete. Hopefully by doing this, we can kick off the coroutine, and then we'll wait with our object disabled until it returns back. And then by that point, hopefully we have something. It also cheats a little bit more, and the speed modifier is also attached to the same object. So what's going to happen is it's actually going to prevent this from working either. So we're actually not going to decrement our speed at all. I hope. And so if that all works, we're good. It actually will do what we think it should do. And if it doesn't work, then I'm wrong, and we're going to break things. So yeah, it'll be great. So we run this. We don't get any errors, and we do get our things. Cool. So that actually worked. Awesome. Let's do a WebGL build. Let's see if this actually works. What I'm hoping is that we can actually pull from that file. And so I guess that's like the whole point of this. But what this should do is make it possible for us to actually pull things from the thing. In hindsight, we could have done this a lot easier. There's better ways to do this. If I had known that this is what we were going to be doing, we could have skipped most of this. But I cheated and did like file.read all text, which is not how you're supposed to read files in the first place. You shouldn't ever really use that thing. Generally, like the reason this whole thing exists in the first place is when you're reading files or doing these kind of long running operations, you shouldn't block, regardless of what you're building. It's just not a good idea to block a thread while you're reading things like text files or whatever. Even with like a standard file, they can get really big. And so if you need to read multiple gigabytes, even though it's like a local file and all of that, it could still take some time. And so the user experience tends to get pretty bad when you're doing that. For what we're doing, it really doesn't matter. And especially because of what we needed to do, which is wait for this to actually come back before doing anything. Should have worked, but yeah, I think this is fine. It's probably a better solution than I would have written initially, so not too annoyed, but yeah. Right. Hopefully, this works in. I still don't know if this is actually going to work in WebGL. It should though, because at this point, all we're doing is making a GET request. We're not using any. Like the difference here is we're using a web request to actually request a file, and so that should work regardless of where you are, as long as you can make those kind of requests. It should work. So I'm anticipating us being able to actually use this just fine. And the good news is if we ever want to improve upon this further, the hard part's already done. The hard part is the web request, and that should work already. And our code kind of handles it. Not really, but it kind of handles it. There is a massive level of jank in this code, but it works. And for like a really quick stream tool that needs to run for like 10 seconds at the most, it's probably fine. Especially because if it breaks, it's my tool, and we can find another solution. It's not that big of a deal. So we don't need to spend too much time investing into how to make this really, really stable and stuff. If I'm making this for somebody else to use, there's probably investment that should be done to make it better. But we're not there yet, so we're not going to do that. But yeah, see what happens. So that works. Let's open this in Chrome. I refresh this. It works. Haha. So you can actually see we received all of these things and ran this, and we got pop. Ta-da! So it works, which means I should be able to add a browser source. This one. Sure. So we get OBS again. We do this and that. We use a local file. We go to the local file. We select our index. Done. And that should be everything we need, I think. When scene becomes active, refresh it. We don't need to do that. We can refresh it automatically. Okay. And there we go. So there is our wheel. This is actually the source that we're using. And so I can just bring this down there-ish. I can fix all of that later. And add the filter or the chroma key. All right, we may need to change a few things. I don't really like the green, but that's okay. All the watermarks are gone, so we can ignore those as well. Also, there's a weird border. I wonder where that's coming from. That's kind of annoying, but we can just crop that out. So transform the edit transform. So we can, there's like that little green border there. If we crop in, wait, am I cropping the wrong thing? It looks like I am. Hold on. Yeah. Wrong thing. Ignore that. We'll do that again. Transform. Edit transform. There we go. This should be the right one. So if we crop that, let's just do 100 by 100 by 100 by 100. Cool. That should be enough. We can just put that down there. We still have that. That's weird. There's still a green bar. I'll fix that eventually. Maybe not right now. But anyway, it works. So we just have this. I should be able to actually refresh this. So if we actually go into our builds, we have these options here. I should be able to open this and do build a game, build a web service. create a useless tool and design a mobile app. Sure. Do a game jam. There's 5 things. So I should be able to open this browser here. And if I click refresh, we get that annoying loading screen. But we can just spin. And we should actually get useful things like build a web service instead of what we had previously. So this is actually like doing things that we actually want instead of just that random filler stuff. And so all we need to do is update this and then refresh the page, and it's good. So it kind of works. There's a lot to do still, but I'll probably do that at a different time. I think we've kind of beaten this enough today, and it's just been a long day. So I think this is probably it for now. If you have ideas, I really like the idea of like integrating this with Twitch chat. I think that's a really good idea. We'll probably play with that maybe this weekend or something. I don't really know. But always looking for new ideas. And now we have this cool wheel that I can put the ideas in, and then we can spin it and decide what to do. So we have things that we can play with now. So I think that's mostly it. I will leave it here, I guess. I don't know if this will end up on YouTube. It might be a little bit weird and just kind of long. Yes, adding a pointer is a good idea. I was considering doing that. We can actually, I think all we need to do that is just add a sprite, right? Like we don't even need anything fancy at all. I can just add a sprite, do that. I hate green, but that's okay. UI sprite. Sure. Where to go? Why is it invisible? Let's get rid of the sprite. Let's add something useful. Image. Done. Let's move it up to 250 and rotate it by 45 degrees. That didn't work. That's scale. Let's rotate it by 45 degrees. There we go. Done. Right? I think that's all we need to do. And it's behind everything. Let's put it. Ooh, how do we make it go in front of everything? We can just move it forward, right? I think that should work. It should draw on top of things now. I might be wrong. Yep, I'm wrong. All right. Well, I tried. Oh, what? Why is it behind things? Well, when all else fails, we can move it up like that. And now it should work. Unless it's still behind things, and then I can tweak one other thing. But there we go. That's a little big, but you get the idea. Because it doesn't need to actually do anything fancy, we can do that. We can make that better. It would just take longer, and I don't really want to do that right now. So we're not. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. This actually makes it a little bit easier to kind of tell what gets selected because we don't snap to an option. It would be kind of cool to do that, but we just don't right now. Yeah, there's probably some other cleanup that we can do to make it a little bit nicer, so there's not these weird green screen artifacts. But I think that's mostly everything. It kind of accomplishes things, and for 3 hours of just hacking and screwing around and trying to figure out UI stuff, I think we kind of came up with some fun stuff. So there we go. I will leave it here. You can always feel free to join the Discord or check me out on YouTube. There's a bunch of stuff there, and I'm always happy to help out in Discord. But yeah, that's it for today. So I don't know. Trying to figure out a stream schedule. I'll see where that goes. It could take a bit, but I imagine that'll happen shortly. I'm trying to get into this more, so there'll probably be more and more of these. But Anyway, I don't think I have that configured, but it is below the videos. There should be a thing. I don't think I have like any chat bots really enabled other than Stream Elements, which I think actually provides that. But I can figure it out. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of things that I need to figure out. Yeah, that's it. So thanks for hanging out, and thanks for the ideas. I will try to be back in like tomorrow. And then over the weekend, and we can have some ideas from some games. So we'll do something that I'm actually good at instead of hacking at UI. So yeah, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate it, and have a good night. So see ya.